Why don't you go out and earn some money? Do something properly to earn some money instead of just spending all your money on clothes.
To hand the microphone to Harry again, and yet again, Meghan goes to take it. He holds it back and even laughs and says no, and then continues to
pretend it's all honky-dory and how happy they are. They can't stand the sight of each other. They can't stand hearing their voices. And so they're just keeping far, far, far away. And
we've seen awkward royal moments before, but nothing compares to this. 10 seconds of absolute silence, a single glance between Harry and Meghan, and the carefully maintained facade of unity cracked completely in front of a stunned crowd. Every rehearsed smile, every staged gesture, suddenly fell away, exposing the fractures in a relationship the world had long assumed was flawless.
Hack with this. There's lots of theories obviously going round. I personally, with Meghan, we know that she's excited.
The venue was packed. Cameras flashing, the audience buzzing with anticipation. Prince Harry stood confidently at the microphone, mid-sentence commanding attention. Then, like a moment lifted straight from a soap opera, Meghan Markle appeared on stage. The crowd erupted in surprise, but the shock wasn't just for them. Harry himself froze, caught completely off guard by her sudden entrance.
Time we saw them together at all was in November.
She hadn't been scheduled to speak, and insiders insist her appearance wasn't on the program. Yet Meghan moved with her usual air of command, gliding across the stage to Harry as though the spotlight had always been hers. The unspoken script was familiar. Harry would yield the microphone as he had countless times before. Their routine had become almost ritualistic. She arrives fashionably late, he defers with practiced grace, and together they project an image of seamless unity.
She could be mingling with other A-listers. For her to turn that down, it must be something.
That's when the tension became palpable. Meghan didn't storm off, nor did she grab the microphone. She simply stood there, smiling, but it wasn't the dazzling, effortless smile the tabloids love to plaster on covers. This was a tight, controlled smile, the kind you offer when every nerve is screaming, but you refuse to let the world see the chaos beneath.
That in that video, they absolutely seemed like they couldn't stand the sight of each other.
I believe that was done quite.
She tilted her head slightly, a subtle challenge in her posture, silently daring Harry to rethink his next move. The cameras honed in, sensing the storm about to erupt. Each passing second stretched the silence, thick and electric. Meghan, who thrives in the glare of attention, suddenly appeared.
Very damning article has come out from the Hollywood Reporter with reportedly 12 people willing and waiting to back it up. So they've made sure.
The audience fidgeted in their seats, a ripple of unease passing through the crowd. Low murmurs filled the room, some siding with Harry, weary of what they perceived as Meghan's constant need to command attention. Others questioning, did he really just cut her off like that, right here in front of everyone? The tension was palpable, pressing against the ribs, a heaviness that made it impossible to look away.
Because we have to do that. And they wanted to wear the poppy to show the royal family that, they're involved too.
Her lips stretched into a perfect curve, but her eyes betrayed the tension simmering beneath. Every flicker of a frown she suppressed, every rigid breath she masked with grace. It was the kind of performance honed over years, the kind meant to convince the world all was well while the mind plotted the next move. The smile was armor, but behind it, a storm was quietly building, ready to erupt at the slightest provocation.
Because we have to do that. And they wanted to wear the poppy to show the royal family that, they're involved too.
Her head tilted just so, a subtle challenge in her posture, silently daring Harry to take control back. The cameras honed in, sensing the tension, every second stretching like a taut wire ready to snap. The silence thickened, pressing down on the stage because Meghan doesn't just occupy a room, she dominates it. Being next to Harry without the microphone made her appear exposed, vulnerable even, and vulnerability was a language she rarely spoke.
Cross said 12 people is an awful lot of people to be confirming more bullying allegations.
The audience fidgeted, a ripple of unease moving through the crowd. Soft murmurs filled the air, some quietly cheering Harry on, fed up with what they perceived as Meghan's constant drive to take over. Others whispered in disbelief, questioning if he had actually cut her off right there in front of everyone. The tension was palpable, a tight knot in the stomach that left everyone on edge, waiting for the next move.
Apparently, and Harry is wearing a British one, so that's, a bit silly either, isn't it? But they were standing there.
Meghan, however, refused to let the cameras capture any hint of vulnerability. She held that rigid, measured smile, giving a subtle nod that seemed to say, "Fine, I'll play along." Yet her eyes betrayed her true intent, sharp, calculating, already mapping out her next move, every thought precise, every reaction deliberate.
So the fact that Meghan was there last year and she was humiliated, not once, but twice, and it was all over.
If Harry assumed the moment had passed, he was gravely mistaken. Meghan doesn't simply accept defeat, she observes, she strategizes, and when she makes her move, it's executed with precision and spectacle, ensuring the entire world witnesses the impact.
Unmovable people who would, wind them up and they would say.
Normally, when a high-profile figure like Meghan steps onto a stage, the crowd instinctively applauds, sometimes out of respect, sometimes out of habit, even if the performance doesn't warrant it. It's the expected safe response. But this time, the room didn't move. No cheer, no polite applause, not even an awkward chuckle. Just a heavy, tangible silence that filled every corner of the hall.
Microphone. Firstly, she came on stage and
the silence was so piercing it seemed to cut through the room like a blade. The audience froze, unsure how to react. Should they applaud her audacity? Wait for Harry to acknowledge her first? That moment stretched endlessly, each second heavier than the last, amplifying the awkwardness until it became almost unbearable.
And I'm going to use this word again, deranged mission, because Angela, I am absolutely convinced it is a deranged mission against the British media. He wants to shut down the free press in his home country. Now that is...
The hush from the audience wasn't mere hesitation. It was a collective reaction. Meghan's entrance, which she likely envisioned as commanding and glamorous, landed instead as bewildering. Confusion rippled through the crowd, mingled with unease and a hint of disbelief. The atmosphere shifted palpably, sliding from anticipation and excitement into thick, almost tangible tension that everyone could sense.
Over to Harry with the microphone, and he gestured like he does to give it to Meghan.
And let's be real, the audience mirrors the energy on stage. Harry's lack of warmth, his refusal to acknowledge her, set the tone, and the crowd instinctively mirrored it. If he wasn't responding, why should they? That silence stretched, thick and heavy, becoming the unspoken soundtrack to the tension, magnifying every heartbeat, every glance, every fraction of a second in the unfolding standoff.
This week that Prince Harry is actually trying to turn the case against the Sun newspaper, or NGN newspapers, which publishes the Sun newspaper.
For Meghan, it had to feel like a nightmare. She's built on applause, on the validation of every step she takes into the spotlight. Walking into silence, real, unbroken silence, was the one reaction she couldn't spin, couldn't twist into a victory. That moment transformed her entrance from a show of triumph into a heavy question mark, lingering over the event, over the crowd, over the public perception of her every move.
In the distance. And then not long after that humiliation, obviously this is on the stage, everybody's there watching it, the other organizer, a gentleman.
Up until now, Harry and Meghan's public appearances had become almost mechanical in their predictability. Meghan would step forward, Harry would gracefully step aside, and she'd take the microphone. He'd nod, offer a supportive smile, and the routine repeated itself like clockwork, a well-rehearsed choreography. The audience barely registered it anymore. It had become second nature, expected, almost invisible in its regularity.
Where he is today very shortly, but she's also not there either. So this was an opportunity for her to turn up with Harry, put some of the rumors to rest.
But that night, everything changed. The script was thrown out. Harry didn't step aside. He didn't move toward Meghan. He didn't gesture, not even a beat of hesitation. He simply stood firm, addressing the audience as if nothing out of the ordinary were happening. And that single deliberate choice carried a weight that rippled through every corner of the room.
To do that.
Yes, there certainly seems to be, I would say.
It marked the first time Harry had deviated from the familiar routine, and breaking a pattern always signals something beneath the surface. This wasn't merely about who held the microphone. It was a statement. He was reclaiming his space, asserting authority, and quietly but unmistakably signaling that he wasn't destined to remain in the shadows, always following Meghan's lead.
Inquiry, rather than actually a civil legal case, which is what it's meant to be. And I should state again, Angela, as you know, that I have agreed to give evidence.
The moment didn't go unnoticed. Within minutes, clips circulated across social media, sparking reactions like, "Finally, Harry stands his ground," and "Did you see how he completely ignored her?" Even body language experts weighed in, labeling it a subtle but unmistakable micro-rebellion against the couple's usual onstage choreography.
It's very interesting, but what is even more interesting is the next sentence.
For Meghan, it was a shock, an unexpected disruption to the script she usually controlled. She was accustomed to the spotlight flowing to her effortlessly. For Harry, it was a statement, subtle, quiet, but potent enough for everyone watching to sense its weight. That evening, he didn't just alter a routine, he disrupted a carefully curated image, and the repercussions were only beginning to unfold.
Accountability for others who have already settled claim.